Hello. In this video, I will be walking through the process of wood burning. There are three major steps to this process: cutting, splitting, and stacking. I will be focusing on the cutting step in this video, but will also cover the other two steps briefly. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here you can see my father, also known as Farmer, using a chainsaw to saw into the tree. Farmer is going to be sawing about 80% of the way through the tree at the start before moving on to the next step. Our family has been heating our house using wood for just over 20 years, and any of us can tell you from experience it is a lot of work. With this hard work comes a lot of benefits, though, mainly financial ones. It would cost us up to $3,000 to heat our house using electricity over winter. But by burning wood, we save a majority of that. We would spend on average $400 on supplies like gas, oil, and chainsaw chains. After sawing a majority of the way through the tree, a strap will be attached to the trunk of the tree and to the back of a truck. This is to help control where the tree falls. It is very important that you simply pull the strap tight and do not try to yank the tree over. You can see my dog Capone doing his best to help out. He'll show up from time to time in the background. You can also see Farmer checking that the strap is at the proper tension before cutting the rest of the way through the tree. Now it's time for the exciting and sometimes scary part. With the strap attached and tightened, it's time to cut the tree the rest of the way so it falls. This is commonly referred to as dropping the tree. This is one of the most dangerous parts due to the tree's unpredictability. Many things can happen, such as the tree falling in an unexpected direction or the tree twisting as it falls. Due to these concerns, it is important that everyone else stands clear of the tree until it is on the ground. Here you can see that the tree essentially split in half after hitting the ground. This just goes to show how unpredictable some trees are. In this clip, we are attempting to take down a tree that is leaning towards our house, which makes it very difficult to drop in the correct way. Some other factors that are not helping are the fact that it is raining heavily along with 30-plus-mile-an-hour winds. All these factors make it extremely stressful to cut this tree down. This is why it is important to plan for the worst when cutting down trees. Due to the risks involved, Farmer decides to cut the tree higher on the trunk so that if the tree did fall toward the house, it wouldn't hit. While cutting through the trunk, you can see Farmer step back and observe how the tree is leaning. He is trying to decide whether or not to detach the strap and allow the tree to fall in the direction of the house. This ends up being the method we went with for this tree, and I'm glad to say that the tree was cut at the proper height and landed about 10 feet away from the house. Here you can see just how much the wind was affecting this tree, as the gap from the saw slowly opens and closes, almost as if the tree was breathing. After the tree has been dropped, the more demanding work begins. You can see Farmer working his way up the tree, removing all the branches. We refer to this as cleaning the tree. After a branch is removed from the tree, it becomes brush. All the brush that is not useful is moved to a burn pit. The smaller brush will be loaded into the back of a truck as shown and hauled to the burn pit. We load the brush in a specific way. This allows me to pull all the brush out from the back of the truck. In this clip, I am only holding on to two different pieces of brush, but because of how they interlock with each other, they all come out together. Larger sections of brush will not fit into the back of the truck. This requires them to be pulled by hand or towed behind the truck with a strap. It's important to try and get the brush as close as you can to the middle of the burn pit. If the brush is piled on the sides, the pile will become very wide and the brush will not fully burn. In this situation, you have to regularly push the brush to the center so it burns correctly. By piling the brush towards the center of the burn pit, we save a lot of time and energy in the long run. After a trunk has been cleaned, we begin sawing off sections of the trunk. It's very important that these sections are sawn to a length that will fit into our wood splitter. Our wood splitter can fit up to 24 inches, but to be safe, we usually cut to 16 to 18 inches. Cutting to this length also keeps the logs at a liftable weight. After the logs are cut, they are loaded into the back of the truck and moved to the splitting location. The last steps include splitting and stacking. Here you can see an axe being used, but my family typically uses a hydraulic wood splitter. This allows us to split larger logs and speeds up the process tremendously. After the logs are split into burnable pieces, we typically stack them to reduce how wet they get during winter. Stacking the pieces also makes gathering them easier. Stacking may seem like an easy step, but in reality, it can be very strenuous. This is because it is very common for entire stacked walls to fall over, forcing you to start over. Here is my family's wood furnace. The top door, which is also the larger door, is the fire hole. This is where the fire is built and maintained. The lower door is where the ashtray is. There is also a small adjustable vent on the door which controls the airflow. Opening the vent results in the fire reaching higher temperatures but will also burn the wood faster. When a fire is going, the smoke is sucked out through the chimney, but the heat travels up through this massive vent. Above this vent, there is a smaller one that goes to the second floor. This allows for heat to travel throughout the whole house. The temperature is controlled through a thermostat. When the set temperature is hit, the furnace will turn off the fans that blow the heat up. I have been doing this process of preparing for winter for the majority of my life. This process has taught me a lot about why hard work is important. It made me appreciate everything my dad has done for my family. For several years, he was essentially doing this all on his own. I also appreciate the time I am able to spend with my family. I believe that this process is also the reason I have such a deep connection to nature, as I am constantly surrounded by it. The purpose of this video isn't to convince you to wood burn, but to highlight the time spent with family and the hard work of individuals.